You mentioned before that you've studied psychology, and I'm curious about if I put two of them together. So do you think that social media is going to have a positive or a negative effect on your children's social behavior and their upbringing? And is there a way you could manage that?
I think it's negative impact. I already see negative impact. And I think that it's going to get worse, with more filters and voice augmentation and body augmentation that we can do with all of the technology now. I think that it's dystopian. I think that kids are getting the wrong messages, and I see the shift in the behaviour as well. And I don't have any control over it unless I ban it. And we all know that, whatever adults ban children to do, that's exactly what they're going to go and do.
Yeah.
So all I can do is have conversations. Again, I think it comes back to connectedness. And I think that we have to really, as humanity, make a conscious decision to not accept the lack of connectedness that we are currently living in as the future norm. Because I don't think that we'll survive.
Yeah.
I don't think that we'll survive if we accept that. We can accept that technology is changing and moving forward, but I don't think we should accept the lack of connectedness.
So as a parent, how do you, I mean, I know you said, have an open conversation and talk about it, but do you also sort of, I guess, talk about the precautions and the guidelines and sort of potential negative outcomes of social media use with your daughters?
Yeah, we've had lots of conversations.
Yeah.
And, lots of stuff has happened that we've had to have even more conversations about. What's appropriate, what's not appropriate.
Yeah.
Why your generation might think it's appropriate, but why in 5 years' time you might think that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate that my children are 8 years apart in age. So my eldest daughter also can talk about her experience because she's had a YouTube channel since she was, I think, 9 years old, 10 years old. So she can sort of revert back to, I'll die if anybody sees that footage now. What I thought was cool when I was 10 is absolutely not cool for the world to see now.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting question. When you're young, you're like, oh, if this is out there for the world to see forever, how would I feel about it? Well, when you're young, you say, I wouldn't care. It's just like getting tattoos. It's like all of that stuff. I think it's just part of the culture of growing up and trying to help that younger generation navigate and understand potential consequences, because not everything necessarily ends up being a consequence or a negative consequence of that decision.
Yeah.
So just understanding the potential consequences.
And then you throw AI into the mix.
Yeah, look, I'm scared of AI, not going to lie. I'd rather get in the ring with Tyson.
Would you, would you have kids in this day and age? Compared to when you had them and how you raised your kids and obviously what was happening with social media?
If you asked me 30 years ago, my answer was no. Back then, in that day and age.
Okay.
I didn't think that the world was a great place. So my answer would probably be no now as well. But knowing what I know, I think that everyone should have kids because kids are a compass. If I didn't have my kids, I don't know where I'd be, because their mere existence forced me to be resilient in a situation where I absolutely wanted to just fall apart,
Yeah.
you know? So I thank God for them because kids are hope. They're the future. Without them, there's no future. And we can shape, I think, the world, family unit by family unit, by shaping the values that we instill in our kids. It's the only hope we got. Otherwise, what? We die out, this one generation, and then that's it. No more human beings. It's a finite amount of time that we're here.
Yeah.
And we can make a difference. We just have to be conscious of trying to. Can't control everything, can't fix everything. But, you know, if we've got the right intentions and we go forward with the right intentions, I think that we can definitely have a positive impact. And procreation is a positive impact on the world because they're the future.
I mean, social media has positives and negatives. There's, you know, risk versus reward. But from a mental health standpoint, how do you navigate social media to protect your mental health?
Well, I don't look at it in the day when I'm at work. I like it for the news.
Yeah.
And I call it, you know, the news about my people.
Yeah.
And the news, you know, about people that I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I treat it as such. So in the evening when I'm winding down and I look at the various newspapers that I get my, you know, current affairs information from, I flick through those and I flick through my social media. And then I, you know, forward on to people that I know things would be of interest to. And I respond to the people that have sent me stuff that day. That's how I navigate it. But some people are on there 24/7. It's like an addiction.
Yeah.
And I see it in this Gen Z. You know, they have these snap streaks. It's like, do you even know what that is? I had to find out what it was because apparently it's the most important thing of life. If you don't send that image, then you break the streak, and then I don't know what the consequences of that are, but apparently it's the end of life. I don't know. Yeah, so it's. I think it's going to be harder for the next generation.
I mean, with the increase of you know, AI's involvement in algorithms and social media, like, how concerned are you about the potential for, I guess, news echo chambers or you know, the reinforcement of existing biases, whether it's negative or positive? Like, is there a way to mitigate that for you personally or for your daughters?
No, because we are confined to our belief systems about the world based on our own experiences of the world. Now, someone can tell me something and then I decide whether or not I believe that.
Yeah.
I can read a book and I decide whether or not I believe that.
Yeah.
I see something on social media, I have to decide whether or not I believe that. It's really going to be about, you know, how the constructs of education, how critically we'll be encouraged to think. I'm a critical thinker, but I grew up in a generation where critical thinking was part of the education process.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that that's encouraged too much these days.
Okay.
We want people to be innovative. That seems to be very much part of culture. But critical thinking seems to have kind of shifted to the wayside a little bit.
Yeah.
I've noticed. If you're a critical thinker, if you have an opposed view, you get cancelled these days. That's scary because that's the start of inhibiting your voice. And as I said earlier, like somebody like me, if I don't feel like I've been heard, if I feel disempowered from being heard, then that makes me very, very uncomfortable. I can't lead. I can't be a good mum. I need to be heard.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need to be heard on social media, but I need to be heard in order to be able to function competently. I believe that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we don't need to be heard.
Yeah. I mean, from a sort of a marketing standpoint, and I use an example of any product where you see it and then the algorithm consistently pushes that specific brand and that specific content to you. In the same context as AI, or the algorithm controls a specific news topic or a echo chamber of information that's about a specific political standpoint or something like that. Do you think there's a way to avoid that, or even the likelihood for a whole new industry that helps you separate and ascertain that information as to what's correct and what's not? A little bit about fake news, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah. Look, I think we're in dangerous waters. I think that the altruistic side of me says that, people that understand technology, and I'm not very au fait with technology. It's always been a struggle for me. If they put in place the checks and balances so that we have a balanced view being presented to us, then we're going to be okay. And if they don't, then we're not.
Yeah. I mean, productivity wise, from an AI standpoint, there's, it's going to make marketing people's job so much easier. It's going to, content creators, etc. But what's going to happen with the people that their job that it replaces?
That's right. What is going to happen to them? Because the thing is, everybody needs to be a productive member of society.
Correct.
Otherwise, your mind starts to drift off into places of self-destruction, which is unhealthy for your mental health. So, it's great. I think that it's great to have things in place to help make you more efficient and help you manage your time more efficiently. Like, thank God I have a washing machine and I don't have to wash things by hand, because I don't know how I'd fit that into my day with everything else that I do. But sitting on the couch with a remote control that runs my whole entire household, including my groceries and everything from start to finish, what is the purpose of me then?
Yeah.
And I think that that's the danger. The danger is to lose what the purpose of a human being is. Look, for me personally, I have a very, 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 very strong belief in God. And for me, the important thing is that I don't lose that faith and that belief system.
Yeah.
Everyone's got different stuff that's important to them, but that's really, really important to me. And I think that we can only hand that down from generation to generation. I don't think that we should leave machines in charge of our faith in a supreme being. That's for me. And I think that holds true for a lot of other things and a lot of the fear around the fake news.